Hi, I would like to introduce you to the great horses of Japan. I'm not very good at English, so there may be strange expressions, but please forgive me. This time is Tescogaby. Tescogaby is a mare born in 1972. Her father is Tesco Boy. Tesco Boy is a stallion who was very successful in Japan in the 1970s. To give you an idea of how successful he was, his children won all the big races except the Derby. In such a situation, Tescogaby was a wonderful horse from birth, and everyone who heard that she was a mare was surprised. Tescogaby debuted in September of 1974, but no race footage was found. All I know is that it was 1,200 meters and she won easily by 7 lengths. And she's on record as having won the next race with ease. But the next race, the Keisei Cup 2-year-old stakes, had race footage. This is a 1,200-meter, grade race. At that time, there was no such thing as a Grade 1 or Grade 3 race, so let's just call it a grade race. She also won this race by 6 lengths with her dominating speed. The next year she ran in the Keisei Cup, but she was the only mare among the entries. But she kicked the boys to the curb. Thus, her next entry was the Tokyo 3-year-old stakes. I have to explain one horse and one jockey here. Tescogaby's jockey is a man named Sugawara. However, another horse ridden by Sugawara also entered this race. That horse is called Kabrayato. Sugawara had high hopes for both horses, so he had a hard time deciding which one to ride in this race. As a result, he chose Tescogaby. This was probably due in part to the fact that Kabrayato was a horse from Sugawara's stable, which meant he'd have a chance to ride Kabrayato again. In contrast, Tescogaby had the possibility that once Sugawara turned down the ride, he would never be able to ride again. In the race, it came down to the last straightaway. They finished almost side by side. But Tescogaby was slightly behind. It was her first defeat. She then ran in the Hanshin 3-year-old mare stakes, a trial race for the Oka show, and won easily in record time. On the day of the race, she was the favorite at 1.1 to win. Tescogaby was in the lead right from the start. She turned the final corner, opening a gap of around 5 lengths. This wasn't a safety lead for her. She opened up more of a gap from here. The live announcer didn't know what to say anymore. And he repeated, This announcement was praised as a straightforward expression of Tescogaby's strength. I don't know how much of a difference she made. The official record is by a wide margin. The difference, in terms of specific time, is 1.9 seconds. Naturally, this was a record time. After this, she ran in the Oaks trial. She was still tired from the Oka show and lost this race in 3rd place. This loss and the fact that the distance will increase to 2,400 meters in the Oaks made her a bit uncomfortable, and her single odds for the Oaks were 2.3. But as always, it is by far the most popular. As usual, Tescogaby took the lead on the road and opened up a gap on the rest of the field on the straightaway course. She wasn't as good as Okasho, but she was closing the gap. When she crossed the finish line, she had an 8-horse lead over the rest of the pack. Thus, she became a Double Crown winner. As a side note, her jockey Sugawara also won the Satsuki Show and the Derby with Cab Yao. Incredibly, Sugawara had single-handedly won 4 of the year's Triple Crown races for male and female horses. Now, while Tescogaby was training for the Triple Crown after the Oaks, she got injured and went on a break. After all, her return race was a year after the Oaks. It wasn't even a graded race, just an open race, but she lost in 6th place. And then later she got hurt again. In modern times, it would be more likely to retire her here, but at the time, the owner's intention was to keep her active. And while she was training for her return, she suddenly collapsed and stopped moving. It was a heart attack. She was already dead. It was January 1977. She was only 5 years old. Unfortunately, this is where her story ends. If only she could leave a child behind, but this is not an option. In the US, there was a tragic genius horse named Ruffian, but I think that in Japan, Tescogaby has an image like her. Tescogaby was a very old horse, but I made a video about her to let as many people as possible know about her as a tribute to her. That's all for this time. If you want to know more about Japanese horses, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.